Yes. Welcome to Sankofa, everybody. Give it up for yourselves. We have really packed out the house. Ain't that beautiful? In spite of all the repression, all the attacks, all the causes for division, here we are, right? Yeah. But we are here under some really crazy circumstances. And I'll say that, first of all, my name is Marawi. I'm a member of DC Alliance Against Racist and Political Repression. And we have organized this teach-in with a number of organizations, including MMDC, Movimiento Migrantes DC, Frizzo DC, Sunrise, a bunch of folks. Let me read this. DC Against the Trump Agenda, Anti-Criminalization Collective DC. Shout out to all those organizations, y'all. Yeah, there's some really incredible organizing going on in this city. And you'll note that this is, from our organization, our first teach-in, in the 3 months since, Trump has essentially invaded and occupied DC. A lot of trainings have been going on, a lot of opportunities for people to learn, about what to do. And I'll just say for us, it was important for us to step out there and really start fighting back immediately, start, defending against these attacks on our city alongside all of our comrades, and then take what we learned and bring it into a teaching here, with the express purpose of really helping us know how to fight back even harder, We're here to learn in order to fight. Ain't that right? That's right. All right. Now I'll just say something about the space. This is Sankofa Bookstore and Cafe. There's a tab here for folks who are participating in this event. If you hadn't ordered any food or smoothies, please do. We really do want to nourish you, nutritionally and also mentally. And so we have a tab open, for you to get what you need. Now, as you know, this is one of the longest standing black businesses in Washington, D.C., opened in 1997 amidst incredible, divestment from black communities. And now it's still persisting and surviving in Washington, D.C. amongst incredible gentrification, economic attacks against black, communities and businesses in Washington, D.C. And so, everything that you all purchase here today goes into continuing Sankofa's ability to, to exist and continue to platform events like these. That's my mom right there. She's one of the owners of Sankofa Bookstore and Cafe, Shurikiana Aina. And it's another fighting establishment, and it's only able to last this long because of the support of the community, which demands that it remains. With that said, we have 2 books that we'll be highlighting today. One is Copaganda by Alec Karakatsanis. He was here last month. We had a book signing with him. It was really incredible. Another time we packed out the house. They have copies of that on hand if you want to purchase that. The other book is Banished Men, which we don't have copies of, but we will have soon. And so if you want to purchase it, please note at the counter before you leave, and we can make sure that happens. Finally, I'll say, if hopefully this will drive you to want to get involved if you're not already involved with us as a coalition of organizations, with us as organizations. We have a sign-in or registration, which will be happening. Christina, please raise your hand. Shout out to Christina, also one of the incredible organizers with DC Alliance. She will get you signed up if you want to get more involved or just educated on what we're doing. And so without further ado, we'll be starting this sanctuary teaching on the state of things as they are in our city right now, the state of the attacks, and the state of the fight back. And I'll hand it over to my dear comrade, Cookie, from MMDC.
Buenas tardes a todos. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Cookie. I'm a member of Movimiento Migrante DC. Thank you so much for coming here. We believe that whenever we come to a space, we move with intention to be here. So I'm very thankful for your time, and also just a huge honor to be here at Sankofa. So yes, thank you. Everyone bear with me. The reason that we wanted to have this teach-in is because we know that we want to fight back. How can we do that? We do that together. Another thing is that we've been seeing on the news that Mayor Bowser might be a little liar. And a little, un pocote. And one of the things that she really leans on is to the lack of information that our community has, to misinformation. She does like to give alternative facts, if you will. And so that's why we're here today. The state, the colonizer, they hate an informed person. They hate an informed immigrant. They hate an informed person of color. And so we're here to fight back against that. We're here to nurture ourselves within community, to learn from each other, and to advance together. And one of the big things that brought us together is this occupation that has been happening and continues to happen despite what MAGA Bowser has to say and what her cronies, some of them at the city council have to say. As you all know, in September, there was the federalization of our city government, of our district. We still see to this day the National Guard outside harassing Black and brown people. We see every single day there's a kidnapping on our streets, there's a separation of our family, our kids are still going to school in fear, and this isn't something that's new to us. And maybe that's why things have been so normalized, or maybe it just seems like we amped it up a little bit. But we, as people who have lived here, people of this neighborhood, especially this neighborhood, if you live in Ward 1, we know how over-criminalized we are. We know that we have normalized police and over surveillance in our communities. And this occupation, we want to see it as an opportunity for us to grow, as an opportunity for us to say no more, as an opportunity for us to fight back against repression, against this occupation, and for us to finally achieve liberation. And so today, through the Families Not Feds campaign, we've come together through a coalition of organizations that are working against this repression, against this collaboration, and calling out Mayor Bowser against this. So today, that's really what we're going to talk about, and I hope that you all have questions that we can answer. And please feel free to continue supporting Sankofa. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Cookie. My name is Tanya, and I'm born and raised here in D.C., and I'm going to give you a little bit of context about D.C., how it's changed, and what's going on. As you know, D.C. has long been under attack. In 1994, Washington, D.C. had the highest incarceration rate in the world, right? So D.C. has long been a place where we have more police per capita than any other place. That part hasn't changed, but there have been a few things that have changed in the past couple of months. And this is, if you've been out in the streets, you've probably seen this. And I just want to clarify what's a little different today than what we saw a couple months ago. In September, the Supreme Court decided that racial profiling is a legally acceptable way to carry out immigration law enforcement. Shame on the Supreme Court for that. What that means is that there are these agents that wear green vests that say enforcement and removal operations that are riding around our city, jumping out of cars, and targeting people with brown skin. Like I said, jump out squads have long existed in Washington, D.C. That's not new. But this particular form of repression is new, right? And it's not normal. And I want to clarify that it's new and it's not normal so that we can fight back against it. So enforcement and removal operations has long existed. They're part of ICE. They were created in 2003 after the 9/11 attacks with the justification of making the country safer. And prior to this period, they primarily carried out targeted law enforcement. Like they have the personal name of someone, they would go and try and find them, et cetera. Now they've switched to just picking up anybody because they have brown skin. So that's what's going on in DC right now. And I'm gonna turn it over to Oliver to tell you a little bit more about specifically why that's problematic.
Thank you. Could we go back to the other one? Well, the last one. Yeah. No, one more. Go back. There you go. Good afternoon now, everyone. My name is Oliver. I'm with Movimiento Migrante, and I'm really, I was just telling folks here, it was like, I really hope that folks turn out on a Sunday midday, and it just goes to show the amount of solidarity that there is, and also that there's a need to understand what is happening in our community, happen to our neighbors. And as Marawi mentioned, we're really living in this very challenging moment and situation in our community. And this is not just happening to immigrants. This is happening to Black and brown people here in the district. The same federal agents that are tearing immigrant families apart are the same federal agents that are chasing Black youth across DC, same federal agents that are shooting at Black people in this city. And so I just want to stress that, this is not just for, like, our fight is not just to protect immigrants, but it's to protect people, and specifically Black people and brown people here in the district. Our struggles are connected, and the people that are in power are the same people that, they're the same targets. And so I hope that people understand that, to fight for immigrants, we have to fight for the Black community here in the district. We have to fight for working people here as well. That, as Cookie mentioned, they are relying on our compliance to what's happening. And we cannot, for one moment, think that this is normal, because this is not normal. Like, young people getting chased by federal agents, like, that is not normal. Like, Black people getting shot by federal agents is not normal. People getting kidnapped out of our street just for going to work is not normal. And it takes all of us to find a way to not only bring transparency and accountability, but also trying to build something different. And I think that's what they don't want us to do. Like, they don't want a space like this to exist. They don't want this solidarity to take place. And so I just want to, from the bottom of my heart, thank everyone for being here. I know it takes a lot. You could be anywhere on a Sunday, and you decide to be here. To address the this collaboration that has been happening between MPD, the Metropolitan Police Department, and federal agents specifically targeting immigrants for immigration enforcement. One thing to point out is that we have local laws that were pushed for by community, that were fought for by community, that were passed by city council, the mayor, that were signed into law to prevent what's happening right now. These laws now are being violated, and again, they're counting us, and the people in power are counting on us to not say anything about it, and we're just not gonna do it. I'm not good. Like, just, as an immigrant living here in the area, like, I'm not, whatever I can do to highlight what's happening, I will, and I know that you all will too. Yes, one thing to point out is that DC is one of the first localities across the country that had a sanctuary policy. This was back in early 2010s. So we have a long-standing history of recognizing that immigrant communities are part of this district, that they are an important part, not only just economically but culturally, socially, and that folks should be welcome, right? And anyone, no matter where you come from, no matter the color of your skin, that you should be welcome to this community. Now, that's on paper. Like, we know that the city also has a lot of challenges when it comes to welcoming people and also making sure that people that already live here are able to live and thrive. But just recognizing that this fight to have a sanctuary policy in the district is a long-standing fight. This is something that I would say that as Movimiento Migrante did not start. There's folks that have worked to make sure that immigrants in the city are able to live here without the fear of being persecuted by federal immigration agents. The latest version of the sanctuary policy was passed in 2019. It came into effect in 2020, and it's called the Sanctuary Values Act. And it did three things. One, it said to DC government agencies that they cannot hold somebody for ICE. They cannot hold somebody for ICE to come and get them. Two, it limited the information that DC government agencies were going to share with immigration enforcement agencies, like what time the person was going to get out of jail so that they can come pick them up, like their address, like if they had a criminal case, sharing that information with them. It limited that. And And three, it denied ICE, Immigration and Custom Enforcement, access to the DC jail. These are important in things that the Sanctuary Values Act did. What we're witnessing right now is this law that was passed, that was overwhelmingly passed in the city council, that was signed by the mayor at the time, which is Mayor Bowser. Now it's being violated with the emergency order that was issued by President Trump, and also by the order of the MPD chief. They have found a loophole to for MPD, for the local police, to work with federal immigration agents. So some of the Sanctuary Values Act has been upheld in that order from the MPD chief, but some of the Sanctuary Values Act, we know it's being violated, and we're seeking some transparency. We're seeking accountability. Right now, unfortunately, we're not getting any of that. In fact, we're getting the opposite. Mayor Bowser tried to repeal the Sanctuary Values Act through a budget process without any type of community input, without any type of a public hearing. She tried to end something that the people of this district have already voted on, that she herself signed, and all for what? To appease an administration that is set on ripping families apart. So, exactly, shame. And again, if we as a community had not stepped in to say, like, we're not gonna allow that to happen, really it's hard to see who would have done it. Because the mayor was ready to throw immigrants under the bus and say, well, to, you know, I'm sorry that your families are getting ripped apart. I'm sorry that, or not even sorry, but like this is happening in the community. Well, too bad for you. And it really took the community to mobilize, to pressure city council to say, we don't agree with this. You should reject the mayor's attempt to repeal the Sanctuary Values Act. We were successful that her proposal to end it did not pass, but unfortunately, we're still seeing the collaboration between MPD and federal agents. The mayor has denied in the beginning that this was happening. She said now that the Trump emergency order is not in place, MPD is not going to work with ICE. That was a lie. That same day that she said that at a press conference, that same day we saw people getting detained here in the district. There were images of MPD and federal agents detaining people. So that's why we said it, as Cookie was mentioning earlier, like her alternative facts were disproven because of community. Many of you have seen federal agents in the streets. Many of you maybe probably have seen images of people getting arrested by MPD and federal agents. This is still happening, unfortunately, because the order from the chief has found a loophole. And I'll kind of end it there, but the loophole that they found is that because a person is not in quote unquote on MPD custody when they're pulled over on a traffic violation, then we know that federal agents are close by to come and pick them up. That's one of the instances that we've seen how they found a loophole to keep targeting immigrants in the district. Next.
We got 3 Pura Vitas smoothies and a Charles Burnett sandwich. Raise your hand if you got the sandwich. That's the croissant. Now, if you ordered something, we just ask that in about 5 minutes or so, if you've been waiting, that you go up and check, because they're going to have a hard time finding everybody. Yeah. Cool.
Or we can take a snack break or something at some point. But thank you. So that's why we're here, because we're demanding, again, not just transparency, but that this collaboration between the local police and federal agents stops. We want to make sure that we know how many of these arrests have happened. We have asked for this information. We haven't received any of this. These are some of the demands that we have for that we've highlighted for the mayor and the city council. And specifically, I want to bring up one of these. Is we're calling for the police chief order that still allows this collaboration and MPD and federal agents to ride around DC and target people. We're calling for that order to be repealed. So far, the chief, there hasn't been any announcement of any wanting to do this. The mayor has said that this task force, this federal task force, the so-called Make DC Beautiful task force, that they're working on getting some of these federal agents out of this task force. We don't know exactly what she's doing because this is still happening. And in the meantime, again, these same federal agents, they're not just stopping immigrants. They're stopping black youth. They're stopping black drivers who they shot at, and they try to cover it up. Like this is not just about immigration. This is not just about immigrants, but it's about an occupation of our community. And in order to stop it, we need to demand for it to happen, for it to stop. The mayor recently in the press conference said, I haven't heard from anybody in the community that they're upset, right? She's obviously not going to specific places where these questions are not being asked. And some of you may have seen images of people actually going to meetings that she's had to ask her these questions. And she says, again, that she hasn't heard people being upset. Our demands, I think, the majority of this community would agree with. We don't want federal agents in the metro. We don't want federal agents coming to our streets and ripping a family apart. We don't want federal agents to shoot at black people. We don't want federal agents to chase youth out of a park. Like, that is not normal. Again, we have maybe a video. Do we have a video? No? Oh, it's coming up. Okay. But again, thank you for being here. I will pass it to Marawi to kind of lead us into the next section.
Yes, give it up for Oliver. The next section will actually be our brother Armand from Anagbayan, DC, to talk about a situation. Actually, he might have stepped away for a second, so I'll hold tight on that. We'll come back to the slide. As you all know, there's a catastrophic situation in the Philippines. This typhoon has hit, and so we want to raise that up in the midst of this program. So anybody in the back, if you see Armand, let him know that we're going to go to that as soon as he gets back. All right. And here's my comrade KB with the DC Alliance Against Racist and Political Repression.
Hey, everybody. Excuse me. How we doing? All right. It's very nice to see this room packed out like this. As Morari said, my name is KB, and I'm one of the organizers for the DC Alliance Against Racist and Political Repression. And I wanted to talk about the other side of this occupation and what we're seeing. We know that this is a dual-prong approach, essentially, that includes attacks on our immigrant brothers and sisters and our neighbors, and on Black people, specifically Black youth. And so we're seeing this happen in a variety of ways, one of which is the House bills that have been passed and are going through the Senate right now. Boo. What these bills, in their essence, seek to do is to erode and take away DC home rule. If you don't know, DC home rule was passed in the 70s. It's federal legislation that essentially carves out autonomy for DC. It created the DC mayorship that we know now, and it also created DC City Council, and it basically allows DC to pass laws for DC, as a means of representation. And so what these bills in their essence seek to do is to take away 40 years of autonomy that the people of this very city fought for. And we see this in many different forms. So there's two bills that actually just passed this week through the House, and they're on their way to the Senate. And these bills essentially seek to repeal cash bail and to overturn the police crimes, or excuse me, the police reform bill that was passed in 2022. Famously, this bill essentially makes it illegal for MPD to engage in, vehicular pursuits and chases, which resulted in the death of a young man named Karan Hilton Brown. So a few years after his death, this law was passed. In the House and Senate, these Congress people from the Midwest seek to, to repeal that law. And there's 5 other laws that they are seeking to, erode away at DC autonomy, from, judicial appointments to lowering the age of, when a juvenile can be tried as an adult from 16 to 14, and so on and so forth. So, we recognize that these are, attacks on our city, and it's something that we have to defend against.
Yeah, so another aspect of this congressional attack is that, there's about almost 20 bills floating around at this point that they're trying to get passed, in addition to the ones that KB described. And, in many ways, they don't necessarily have the support, in the Senate, at least, to completely repeal home rule, in one go. But they do seem to be strategizing around, piecemeal destroying and taking away, kind of our, local laws, particularly around black people, and particularly around black youth. And it really does dovetail into Mayor Bowser's outright, ongoing, and consistent attacks against black youth in Washington, D.C. Like you said, they're trying to be able to try kids as young as 14 years old as adults. And they want to, also make it so that judges, for example, in D.C. are appointed by Trump rather than elected by us, which is another way of ensuring that only judges who are dead set on attacking black people would take the seats. I want to go into this case of Phillip Brown. Is that cool? Because we believe that this case of Phillip Brown is a crystallization of all the different ways that these federal and local attacks come together and really explosions of violence and spill over into the black community, in deadly ways. So Phillip Brown was pulled over by MPD. He for having dark tints. Now, MPD said that he was attempting to flee and that they called federal agents in to assist them because they're not able to, take chase. Keep in mind, they want to chase black people. They hate that they can't chase black people, first off. But anyway, they have these, 8 federal attachments to their caravans, which just means that they say, hey, whatever. Or really what it means is a federal agent just went ahead and, in the police report, they just kind of trying to explain these things. The federal agent, despite the fact that Phillip Brown was stuck at a light, was not moving, said that he feared for his life and he fired shots into the vehicle of Philip Brown, essentially, thankfully, missing him, but nearly killing him. He was so close to being shot, he had a bullet hole in the collar of his shirt. If he had a passenger, his passenger would be dead. There were bullet holes in the chest level of the seat, his passenger seat. And this was a Homeland Security officer. He was arrested and then charged with fleeing. In the police report, the arresting officer omitted the fact that federal agents fired into the vehicle. At the, because a team lead told him not to. Now, later, the criminal case against Philip Brown was dropped because there was no evidence of him fleeing, first of all. Second of all, the officer was forced to admit under oath in court that he was told by a superior to omit the federal shooting from the police report. In fact, he checked a box that said no shooting occurred on the police report. Now, that police report, of course, was filed in court. Oh, we got some smoothies, y'all. Iced chai, hot cocoa, and berry smoothies from the looks of it. We're going to make it work. Berry blast. All right, we got some folks coming to you. One day we'll have a digital solution. I actually prefer it this way. It feels very, family. We're in somebody's living room right now. Shout out to Sankofa, yeah. Now, Philip Brown, his case was dropped. The police had to admit it in court. Now, later, when, this case was exposed, they were accused of covering up, et cetera, et cetera. They said, no, we didn't cover it up. We filed a secondary police report that had the shooting included in it. Now, that police report does exist, but it was never filed in court. It was never released to the public. It was never filed in court. Well, it was they told to a news station, but essentially it's a backup that they keep in case of a rainy day. It was never filed in court. They let the false one go through his entire court case. Never mentioned it. They were questioned up and down during the court case, and they never mentioned this secondary police report. The body camera footage was never released during his trial, and still to this day has not been released. What else did they lie about? Basically everything, exactly. Now, when we had our press conference and exposed this, they responded. Well, Pam Smith responded in City Council, essentially doubling down, saying that all these things were not true. What we were saying were lies. But it turns out that actually she was lying through her teeth in terms of all these things that we've been talking about. And her fake tears.
Yeah, and the shooting of Philip Brown and the case of Philip Brown, I think is actually a perfect example of what this book, Copaganda, by Alec Karat-Katsanis talks about. Because if we were to shoot into the car of an unarmed man, we would be arrested and be facing attempted murder charges right now. But the police do it, and all they face is public pressure and scrutiny, and they can't even handle that, and it shows just the extent to which the police will go to cover up, one, the crimes that they do, but also to victimize and to make the people that are facing the brunt of the oppression the bad guys in the essentially, because a stop that was for tents and missing tag, he didn't have a tag on his front car, turned into a potentially deadly encounter where Philip Brown could have lost his life, and something that Copaganda talks about is that, these laws, they're enforced in some places, some of the time against some people, you know, and that is part of the terror of policing, is that it could really happen to any one of us, and there's no rhyme or reason for why it happens. You know, in the DC Alliance, we currently work with a formerly incarcerated man by the name of David Black, who served 26 years for a crime that he did not commit. And you know, during the course of his incarceration, David always would ask himself, why me? Why was it me? And there's not a good answer a lot of times. You know, really it is being black in the wrong place in the wrong time, you know. And that type of indiscriminate violence where, you know, you serving 26 years in prison or having 26, you know, free years of your life, you know, being decided by, you know, you being on the wrong street corner, that's a grave injustice, but that's an injustice that we face every single day as Black and brown people, which, you know, further, I think, shows the need for us to fight and to fight back against this, so that, you know, these types of crimes, the shooting of Phillip Brown, the incarceration of David Black, doesn't happen. So I also want to talk about the attacks on Black youth, which predate, you know, the occupation really by years. This has been a main point of you know, Bowser's you know, platform really since she got elected. And earlier this year, you know, City Council along with Bowser signed into law the Secure DC Act. Does anyone know what that is? So the Secure DC Act is essentially a crime bill, because crime is such a problem in DC, even though it's like at a 32-year low. You know, it's such a problem that they felt a need to pass essentially a 1990s era crime bill that significantly criminalizes Black people, but specifically Black youth. And what this bill did was create these curfew zones, basically areas of the city where, you know, that are either predominantly Black areas or gentrifying areas where youth are not permitted after, I believe, 8 p.m. And DC has had a long-standing curfew that goes way back. Can I get another? There we go. Veggie pesto, iced chai with oat milk. Yeah, I'll take that too, actually. That sounds good. AF.
Chicken mouth, tofu mouth.
Yeah, tofu. Thank you. I totally forgot. I was like, what was it? Sorry, y'all, I forgot my train of thought.
Boom.
Thank you. Okay, so we was talking about the curfews. Thank you, y'all. Thank you, y'all. Y'all got me. But the curfew has been a thing in DC since the early 2000s, I believe. You know, and it's generally from 11 p.m. To like 7 or 8 a.m. On all days of the week. You know, the youth are not supposed to be outside unless they meet one of 8 exceptions. And what these curfew zones do is that it moves up the time of the curfew, and you know, essentially applies, you know, for a weekend. So like Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And we've seen curfew zones in Navy Yard, I believe some on Benning Road, some on 14th and U, and I believe there was one uptown, but I can't, say it again? Banneker, thank you. And what happens within these curfew zones is that, as Alex says in his book, the curfew is only applied some of the time to some of the people. And you can just guess who those people are. They're Black youth. You know, Mirari had a video that we posted to our Instagram page a couple of weeks ago that showed, you know, these officers in the Navy Yard Metro Station, and they're letting, and this is Halloween weekend, they're letting white kids go up. People who obviously look under, you know, 18 years of age. It's after the time that they're supposed to be out, and they are letting them go up freely. And any Black youth they see, they stop them. And they tell them either get back on the train or call your parents to come get you. So one of the exceptions in the curfew law that I was talking about, there's 8 exceptions. One of them says that if you're a youth that is traveling to get to your to get to your home of residence, that you are allowed to be out. You are allowed to, essentially transit to get home. And what these cops were doing is that they weren't allowing the kids to get off the train to get home. And we're essentially saying, well, we don't believe that you're actually going to go home, so you got to call your parents, And as it exists in D.C., the D.C. that Mariah grew up in, the D.C. that a lot of people grew up in, is not the D.C. that our youth are currently facing. There have been massive cuts to the rec centers. There have been community rec centers that have closed down all across the city, especially after COVID. In spaces such as Navy Yard, there are actually no free spaces. There's no spaces that you can just, go and hang out. You have to pay for everything. And what you don't have to pay for, you have to be 21 years or older to actually, get into these establishments. And there's been a systematic defunding and divestment from Black communities and from Black areas of the city, to invest in essentially these luxury apartments that are half occupied, that no one really lives in and no one can afford. So what it has done is left a situation where you have young people who can't go to the rec center, can't enjoy anything for free, can't even go to the park without being harassed, that are then being further criminalized through these curfews to stop crime. And so, it's, I don't know. Yeah, go ahead.
Should we talk about our arrest?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
All right, so yeah, they're down there, harassing, terrorizing people, in on the south side and other parts of the city as well. And there was a kid who was on WSA 9 not too long ago. You may have seen it, who was saying that he was stopped that same night. I was out there recording. They told him he was trying to go home at Navy Yard. They told him to get back on the train, go to Waterfront, and walk from Waterfront back to his home in Navy Yard, which doesn't make any sense, but because Navy Yard is where the curfew zone is at, he couldn't get out there. Just increasing the surface area for all types of, interactions with the police or whatever other types of dangerous things. It's nighttime, he's a kid. We were there the following night as a group responding to, another massive police presence. We had a group of us there. It was kind of impromptu. But a bunch of folks, including, Terry Martin and some other folks, were helping kids get around the police, blockade so that they could get onto the train or come off the train. Other of us, we had some noisemakers, and we were, kicking up a whole fuss about this racial profiling, attacks on Black youth, et cetera. And we were arrested. 4 of us were arrested, charged with disorderly conduct and some other. Actually, one of our comrades here, Christina, raise your hand, was charged with resisting arrest. Just actually really she wasn't even arrested at first. At first, they arrested me because I had the working megaphone, and then KB, and then Tara. And then Christina was like, are you only arresting Black people? And as soon as she said that, she said she felt the handcuffs clamp around her wrist. You know what I'm saying? So, how they go. So they locked us up. We were in there. They fully intended to keep us there the entire weekend. DC Alliance and other organizations, shout out to everybody, including MMDC, Anak Bayan DC, Decada. I mean, everybody got involved in kicking up a national response. There were people calling into that police station from DC to Chicago to New York to Kansas to Sacramento to LA, Hawaii, and their phones were ringing off the hook. And there were people there, was around a bunch of people there, many lawyers who were organizing along with this Trump situation. And they were forced to release us, that night, 5 hours later. So shout out to everybody.
And just to put a bow on this point, I said at the beginning that this is a dual-prong approach, and it's clear to understand that in the case of Phillip Brown and the killing spree that I'm about to discuss, it was HSI officers that were involved in many of these altercations and interactions. Does anyone know what HSI is? Homeland Security. What does Homeland Security do? What's the biggest agency that's under Homeland Security? ICE. it's like it is all connected, and they're not being shy about it. They're not trying to be coy about it. They're literally playing in our faces, and so it's really for our survival, for both the survival of Black people and of brown people, that we unite and we come together. And I would say for white people too, because, everyone is being affected by this occupation, and everyone is being affected by these ICE kidnappings. When you have rampant oppression like this happening, it degrades the quality of life for everyone, and it makes society worse for everyone, even those that aren't directly facing the brunt of attacks. So it just shows the importance and the need for us to stand together, for us to, to stand united in saying no to Trump's racist agenda and to saying no to Bowser's complicity with that.
Also, there's a lot of Black folks who work in federal government. Oh, we got some more smoothies. What you got?
Peer beaters.
Now, a lot of Black people work in federal government, but a lot of white people do too. And who you think is going to go kick your ass when you go strike against the ways that they're destroying, federal jobs across this whole region? The police. And in this type of situation, you can guarantee there'll be some feds there too. Any federal workers in the room? Any people who were laid off? Oh my God. But there's a lot more who'll be around here a lot, because they're attacking the working class from every possible angle.
Yeah, and on my final point, I just want to discuss this killing spree that happened over the last weekend. So basically, starting Thursday, MPD murdered three Black men and put a fourth one in the hospital. The fourth. Okay. Yes. Excuse me. They nearly shot him, but luckily it was in the case of Phillip Brown. He didn't get hit. It's a very great thing that these officers have poor aim. They're terrible. They're just terrible at all aspects of their job. But the man that was shot at but was not hurt, I believe his name is David Childs, and one of the men that was killed during the weekend, his name is Kevin Booker. I don't believe that we have the names of the other two quite yet, or we do?
Yeah, David Childs was the one who was killed on Monday.
Oh man.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay,
right.
That's the one I was thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the brother who was shot by HSI was on Thursday. So HSI, another police chase. Homeland Security, because MPD was accusing somebody of running. Homeland Security went in on the same street, Benner Road, shot into the car. Same thing, driver's side. Nearly killed that man. And then I think on Thursday they killed Kevin Booker, who was in his home, though he had a court order against being there. They said they were outside, whatever. They went in and said that he lunged at them with a screwdriver. But our whole thing, even there, is to say it never should have gone that far. You know what I mean? It never should have gone that far. In all these cases, they only know escalation and destruction. And then on Sunday, there was a man arrested on Metro for outstanding warrants, and they said that in police custody, he became unresponsive and died, which is bullshit. They murdered him in police. He was, as far as we know, healthy when they grabbed him, and then ended up dead, which is a thing that happens. And then finally on Monday, David Childs, who they killed, they shot, went to the hospital, died that same night. So this was a whole spate, an explosion of police violence over the weekend, which we consider kind of falling under this umbrella, which we're talking about in terms of police terror, which has always existed in D.C. and now has been intensified under federal occupation.
And I think it's important to talk about Bowser and the role that she has played in, creating the environment of, indiscriminate police violence, essentially, in our cities. She has said that the reason why she's complying with Trump is to protect home rule. But the only thing that we're seeing is actually a further erosion of home rule, as we discussed, with these bills, but also de facto in real time with the murders that have been allowed to to happen. This is I mean, it's a crazy situation, a crazy time, but you know, we want Bowser, and you know, Marari and Cookie will talk about this in the next section, but you know, we want Bowser to fight like how Brandon Johnson has fought for Chicago, and you know, kicked the National Guard out of Chicago. We want Bowser to fight like Zohran Mamdani has done in New York, you know, and if she's not willing to fight, then we need to get a mayor that will fight, because you know, it is by her very capitulation that we now have you know, 3 men who are dead, a fourth that is you know, that's traumatized, and in the case of Philip Brown, another brother that is also traumatized that nearly lost his life, you know. So that's all I have, and thank y'all.
All right. Give it up for KB. Yes. And then, as I said before, oh, we got a pizza. Anybody got a pizza? Raise your hand if you got a pizza. Cheese? Yep, it's cheese. Come on to the front. All right. Yeah, so what we're going to do now is appreciate it. Shout out to our wonderful food runners, Amy and Christina. All right, so we're going to go to Armand from Anak Bayan, D.C. to talk about the typhoon catastrophe in the Philippines.
So hello, everyone. My name is Armand, he, him, Anak Bayan, D.C. It's a local grassroots organization fighting for national democracy in the Philippines, basically a Philippines that's free of foreign influence and run by the people and not by the corrupt, wealthy politicians. Thank you. Raise your hand if you've heard of the typhoons in the Philippines. Okay, so most of us have heard about it. And, you know, this is not a new phenomena. This has been happening for decades, and Philippines is top 2, if not the #1 place prone to natural disasters. However, we say natural, but these are entirely man-made disasters. But why are these man-made disasters? We didn't make the typhoon. Why? I'm actually asking you guys. Why? Shout it out. Climate change, okay. Militarization, poor infrastructure. I definitely want to highlight the latter two, climate change, yes, 100%. But there are plenty of countries also who are also dealing with climate change, whether it's Japan or, you know, certain parts of the US, where they actually create the proper infrastructure to deal with floods. And yet time and time again, we see the same destruction and the people are sick of it because, surprise, the politicians are pocketing that money. A report came out where they found about 70% of funds allocated to flood control disappeared completely. Like, imagine if that happened in the United States, where FEMA, 70% of that money went nowhere. And and it probably is happening, but like, it's in the faces now of the Filipino people, and we really want the whole world to know about it, because have any of these politicians been locked up at all or put to justice? No. And I really want to connect this back to what we were talking about earlier with like the black youth being like the targets. A lot of Filipino youth are also standing up against the government. They're protesting, they're fighting back, and they're the ones who are being arrested. There's like 300 Filipinos in jail for the past 2 months during these protests, and 0 politicians behind bars. And then just last week, or in the past 2 or 3 weeks, there have been a few politicians, especially one, who have said specifically, oh, I actually got bribed. I actually saw the president of the Philippines putting away the money, or like some kind of detail that involved like the luggages of money put away that should be to these flood control projects. So all that to say, 2 requests. One, you know, the people are in need. The government is not doing what they should be doing, so it is up to us, the community, whether that be, you know, people in the Philippines or us people back here, or, you know, your friends and family. Please let them know that we are collecting funds to donate to the typhoon. So you can Venmo here or Cash App me and I'll send it to my organization. But then secondly, along with that, we need to hold these governments accountable. The same way we're holding Mayor Bowser accountable, the same way our council, everyone, the embassy is fully complicit in this. Like, even just today, literally today, a seafarer, so like a cruise ship worker, his cabin mate was like at risk of being detained. So we are calling the embassy, like, you need to protect this person. This is your job. And then it went to voicemail. Or the other number we called, they said, if you are having an emergency, please call this number. And the number was the literal same number that I just called. So like, I'm just going in a loop. So, we want to hold this government accountable. There's a national protest in the Philippines on November 30th. And concurrently, we are also holding it here in DC and across the United States. So, if you're going home for Thanksgiving or you're staying local, there might be something going on. But I do have some flyers for the People's Protest. It's going to be this Thursday. Sorry, not Thursday. Sunday, 2 p.m. at DuPont Circle. Sunday, what time? Where is it going to be? Yes, and I fully need all of you in this fight. Oh, Mariah's going to pass out some flyers. We don't have enough for everyone, so maybe like one per row. Feel free to take a picture, send it to your communities. But we really need you in this fight. Like the Filipino people, like we are trying our best to fight. But we also need our solidarity allies. And we often think about the fascism that we see here in the United States. Other countries are also taking those tactics. Or maybe vice versa, US is taking those tactics from other countries. So we have to fight imperialism, we have to fight fascism all across the world. So I hope to see you at the protest on Sunday. And if you can't be there or you want to learn more, I will be here at the end to talk and also be in solidarity with you. Thank you.
Give it up for Armand, y'all, and Anak Bayan DC and the incredible work that they do in the city and around the country and around the world. KB wanted to say a couple more points. Actually, before I hit that back, I just want to say, why is it important, for us to raise up the Philippines in this discussion around police violence in Washington, D.C.? Because the enemy that we struggle against is an octopus with many arms, ain't that right?
Yeah.
And one of those arms is police violence against black people in the United States. It is, along with total exploitation of our communities, up, down, left, and right throughout this entire country. Palestine is another one of those arms, ain't that right?
Yeah.
And the Philippines is another one. The Philippines has one of the most advanced revolutionary struggles going on in the planet right now. Shout out to the Philippines. We want to, the U.S. empire is a stool with only a certain amount of legs, and we want to kick those legs out from under it one by one, ain't that right?
That's right.
We want to kick the Philippines out from under their boot, right? We want to get, Palestine free, so that leg is kicked out from under the stool. And every time a leg is kicked out, they're a little bit more shaky, and our ability to fight for our rights are a little bit more stronger, because every time we fight for something here, they get it back in blood in the Philippines. You know what I'm saying? If we're not united in our struggles. Every time we fight something here, they squeeze it out of another country. And so we have to fight together with all countries combined. And that's why we're doing this today. Black and brown unity is not it's not a metaphor. You know what I'm saying? Something that we have to achieve if we're going to win. Ain't that right?
That's right. Yeah, and I just wanted to just quickly mention just some of the ways that we're seeing the criminalization of Black youth, and how this intersects and aligns with the criminalization that we're also seeing of our immigrant neighbors and brothers and sisters, which is particularly with first is fare evasion, and second is marijuana. So marijuana is actually decriminalized in DC, and it is technically illegal to smoke weed outside and stuff like that. But the penalty is a civil citation. Essentially, it's a fine, the same as if you got a parking ticket. But marijuana is still illegal on the federal level, and so what we see is that people are being stopped by MPD. The feds come in, and the feds are arresting people for, drug offenses and things like that. If you ride the metro, the police there are Metro Transit. Metro Transit is calling people I don't even know if they're calling them in because they're already there. And the feds are pursuing people for fare evasion, which again is a civil fine. There is no jail time or arrest that is necessary for fare evasion, and this just speaks to the level of coordination between the feds and MPD, which is why one of our demands that we call for, in the case of Philip Brown, and in our work with Families Not Feds, is for more transparency to see how deep the rabbit hole actually goes. Because if in a shooting, the police shoot into the unarmed, car of a black man, and they are leaving that part out, they're already covering up for the feds. How deep does that actually go? Because that shows a pattern of practice, that this is just business as usual, what they do. And they create these CYA police reports, as a matter of practice. So it's so important for us to unite and for us to fight back, because that's the only thing that our oppressors understand, is force, and we have to force them to capitulate that while our neighbors are being kidnapped, while our youth are being criminalized, there will be no business as usual. You will not be allowed to carry on with your repressive, racist, policies, and go home and get a good sleep at night. So that's it. Thank you.
Yes, give it up. I want to quick before you hit that. I think there's is it? Is it? Oh, wait. The other one's gone. Yeah, I can just send it to you from my phone. All right, bet. So, shout out to KB, y'all. And I think we're just going to go into the final part of this presentation, which is going to be about, how we fight back, right? How we fight back and win. Let's say it together. How we fight back and win. You know what I mean? Every time you hear a phrase like that, I want you to, in your mind, there's always, that's the second part that goes with it, because we fight to win. Ain't that right? We're not here just fighting just to fight. We fight because we know we can win, and we fully intend to win. What's the fastest way to get kicked off a spades table? So if your partner get the sense that you ain't playing to win, you know what I mean? If you see your hands, even before you see your hands, you don't believe that you're going to win, you off that table ASAP. And that's how we fight. We fight to win. Ain't that right? All right. So I'm bringing Comrade Cookie back on. So me and Comrade Cookie going to talk about me and Comrade going to talk about the work that we do, that all our organizations do in this section. And I could do the slides if you want. Yeah, I bet. Charles Burnett Sandwich. I bet. So there's a couple things we want to talk about. We want to ground this in a couple examples, which are quite strong, that we have in the United States already that we can look to. Raise your hand if you've seen what's going on in Chicago. Yeah. Give it up to Chicago, y'all. Chicago is incredible. The fight back there is incredible. I mean, there's many places. LA, come on. You know what I mean? North Carolina, New Orleans, you know what I'm saying? Memphis. Who else was at we had a conference this past weekend where 30 plus cities of our national organization came together, and we're talking about the fight back. So the fight back is happening everywhere, but there's some really, really pristine examples of some incredible fight back. So Chicago is one of them. There's a couple things we could just, I think, play, unless this is just a picture. I'm old. Oh, is that a photo? Yeah. All right, KB, got me looking old. All right, let's try this one. Boom. Here's a mass ice watch that they do. They have hundreds of people. They get them together and they talk about what you need to know to watch ice, and then they go watch ice. They push ice out of neighborhoods. You know what I mean? And their rapid responses can have up to hundreds of people. At times, and they really do get some incredible motion. There's another video. I got it. All right, we got another one. Sorry, I guess there's no sound. Oh, it's on your joint, right? This ain't no video. I feel like I watched it earlier.
that was just a picture.
Damn. Anyway, y'all see that picture, right? That's a lot of people. All right. That's, yeah, 10. So, okay, let me give you some context. This was day one of ICE touching down in Chicago. In Chicago, they have a coalition against the Trump agenda. And there's over 100 organizations in there already because it was actually born out of a coalition that they built to march on the DNC around Palestine. And then it just formed fluidly into this coalition against the Trump agenda. And they had rapid response set up where as soon as, we don't know what day they're coming, but the day they come, you're going to get a text message and we're going to be right here. And they got as many people as we got out on the We Are DC day. That same day, they got out as many people. You know what I mean? Like, so Chicago is really incredible in that regard. Now, the other aspect about their situation is they have a deep united front outside of the coalition with their elected officials. Brandon Johnson is a ardent, defender against Trump's attacks in Chicago. He stands directly with the people. There are 3 executive orders in, 3 anti-ICE executive orders in already. One of them keeps ICE from using any public facility in Chicago from staging immigration activities. Some of them, I think, there may be a mask one, I'm not sure. There's another one essentially mandating CPD to some degree, who we'll see, as imperfect as it is being deployed by CPD, which essentially prohibits them from helping ICE to attack, their people, which is a total opposite of what we have in DC. And then statewide, they had some legislation just passed, which limits ICE even further. And in our situation, we have. We're gonna let it rock. Go ahead and play that joint.
Somebody told me that they were upset with me. I don't lie. I don't lie. I don't lie. I don't lie. But if you can't, she want to answer Christina's question. You are complicit. Your silence is complicity. This will be your last term.
Come on. Shout out to the last one. Comrade was not here right now. We got a nice chant that same comrade came with. Bowser, Bowser. What is it? Bowser, Bowser, you're a traitor. This term is your last as mayor. But yeah, I mean, clearly, Families Not Feds is super lit. We have been really ratcheting up the pressure against the mayor as the primary representative of Trump's agenda in Washington, D.C. We want, to continue to do that. Our first action, which you saw footage of, we had 4 disruptors at her public event. The next one, we had 10 people ready to disrupt her, who volunteered to disrupt her. And so it was a rolling, we wore her out. She was one after another, after another, after another. And just to make sure that wherever she goes to open her mouth, we make it clear. 1, no business as usual. We don't want rhetoric. We want action. If you're not talking about repealing this executive order, we don't want to hear it. You know what I mean? While our people are being deported, brutalized, shot at, all that, no. You know what I mean? This is the first order of business. Meanwhile, even other orders of business, who's familiar with ERAP? Emergency Rental Assistance Program. Who was in that line? Who saw the whole chaos of the last, so David Black, the brother we talked about earlier who did 26 years wrongfully convicted, he went to ERAP to get signed up just to get an appointment, 7 a.m., something like that, crazy. Went to a line. He said he was in line from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. He said there were hundreds of people in that line waiting to get an appointment so that they can get some assistance with their rent. He said there were hundreds of people who didn't even make it, and his appointment is in February. Now, this is a program that Mayor Bowser just cut by 68%. So her attacks on black people, brown people, working people, poor people are total. You know what I mean? She is completely set on extracting as much wealth from our communities as possible for the people who she represents. which is just ruling class. And they cut the phone lines.
Yeah, they cut the phone line, so people was calling at 8:30 just to get an appointment because it was a phone line appointment. And once they realized that the phone line was gone, they had to rush down there. That's why a lot of people didn't get off.
There's no reason this can't be a digital process, easily accessible. You know what I'm saying? Like, it should be the easiest thing in the world, but they refuse to put resources into it to make it as difficult as possible to discourage people from getting the things that their taxes pay for. You know what I'm saying?
And our seniors didn't get help.
Yeah. All right. Now, families not feds. Pressure on city council and the mayor primarily. That is our thing to stop the collaboration between local and federal agencies. Now, Stop Police Crimes is another group, another formation that has come out of this struggle against police terror in Washington D.C. Started with the MPD cover-up. They nearly killed Phillip Brown. They're still covering it up today. Again, Pam Smith went on public record, at a hearing by Pinto around the curfew zones. They asked her about the cover-up. She said it was a lie. The Washington Post article was a lie, that he was not instructed by a superior officer to omit the shooting from his police report. He was just, it was a team lead who told him not to include it in the police report. And so we said, it's bullshit. That's the same thing. You know what I mean? He was told not to do it, and he didn't do it. And at no point did any supervisor, any sergeant say that there was a shooting, She also said that the footage has been available to the lawyers since, whenever. It's a lie. It's still not available to the lawyers. The MPD has the sole power to keep footage on lockdown. And that's what they're doing, to this date. She also was crying about how her officer was essentially, getting threats from people because all these accusations and shit. What's his name? Sterling. Officer Sterling, and the superior was Officer Sparrow in 6th Police District. Now, she was, nearly to tears, and about her poor officer who's being accused of covering up this thing in defense of a federal agent, and no word about Phillip Brown, who's a father who was nearly killed by these officers, So that's textbook Copaganda. You know what I mean? Where all they have to do is go and just introduce enough, gray area for it to not be a thing. But we fully intend to make it a thing. We're gonna make fetch happen with this situation, and we are, also rolling it into these police killings over the weekend. We had an action last Friday night at MPD headquarters. Really good turnout, and just less than 3 days, in coalition with other groups, Free DC and Harriet's Wildest Dreams and other folks came out. Our comrades from MMDC were there and really showed out and really helped to bring these two sides of this equation together. Attacks on black people and attacks on immigrants, on black citizens and attacks on immigrants, because of course they're black immigrants as well who were caught up in all this, And then finally, I guess we talk about DACADA, DC Against the Trump Agenda. This is a coalition of organizations from across the DMV who have come together with the sole purpose of fighting back to defeat the racist and reactionary Trump agenda more broadly. And so we've had, our whole thing is, mass mobilizations around the occupation. We had, you may have been there, 14th and U, when the occupation was first announced. We had a mobilization there. We had another mobilization where we marched through, National Guard territory down to the mall. We had a really massive contingent on No King's Day, where, I don't know, raise your hand if you was there with us on No King's Day at 14th and U, where we marched to the National March with 5,000 people, and then doubled up once we got there. Because, and so that's what we came to say today. This is really the whole thing, which is how we fight back is we organize together. If you're not organized today, this is our call to action to encourage you to join an organization. There are many, raise your hand if you're an organizer, if you're in an organization. Come on, that's excellent coverage. Let's go. All right. Yeah. So,
and I think one of the other things that we want to point out is that many of these coalitions, they came together last minute. We thought that maybe we'd do one action together and that would be it. And then we found camaraderie in each other, and we just kept building and building. And one thing that I want to say is that we don't have to have a perfect action. We don't have to have a perfect coalition. You know, we don't have to have our purpose, whatever. Yeah, we don't have to do that. This is not the management training center. But what is important is for us to do something, even if it's incorrect, even if there are some fallas, some mistakes. This means that you cared enough that you'll be able to learn more. And with each lesson, we just inch closer to liberation. And so let's find power in the imperfection. Let's find power in the struggle.
That's right, Cookie. I like that.
And so if you want to get mobilized, please, we are actually calling folks to pack, sorry, I just learned English, y'all, to pack the judiciary hearing. Yes, the judiciary hearing on December 4th. And the reason that we want to pack the hearing is because under the Families Not Feds campaign, we have a few demands, right? Oliver mentioned it earlier. We need to know what interactions are happening. We don't actually have a number of how many people have been deported, of what interaction looks like. Oliver talked about this loophole. We see everywhere that the feds are riding along with MPD, but what's the interaction there? Are they is MPD handing over folks to the feds? And the feds are coming in all alphabets nowadays, right? We got the IRS, like, you know, some of us have overdue taxes. I'm a little afraid. We have the IRS, we have the FBI, the DEA, like, name them and we got them. And I think that that's another big thing that we want to learn from our comrades. I grew up in around Charlotte, North Carolina. I grew up in a rural area. But I grew up around Charlotte, North Carolina, and I've been hearing my comrades in D.C. say, you know, I'm wondering how we can support folks in North Carolina. And I'm hearing from my friends in North Carolina, and they're like, this is like our third day doing mass mobilizations in Charlotte. And, you know, there's strength and resistance in the South. And for us that live in the belly of the beast, we have a lot to learn about from our folks, our comrades in the South. South organizers, they, you know, woo, yeah, they always got something to say. And I know it because I'm from the South. And so the other reason that we want to have this interaction, the other reason that we're pushing folks to come out for December 4th is because we're asking Pinto to come through and to help us have a hearing of oversight over MPD, and because we want to make sure that everybody knows what these interactions between MPD and the feds look like. And she doesn't want to give it to us because she says that they're going to federalize us and they're going to take away our rights and they're going to deport our people. And I look around and I'm like, I feel like I'm already living through that. And so we want to go hard. Pinto, she is the head of the committee of the Judiciary Committee. And so that is why we are targeting her. We're also targeting Bowser. Why? Because she is the executive person who can make decisions to protect her community, but she hasn't. And so we have Bowser, we have Pinto, and we have Smith. Pam Smith, the chief of police, is also the other person that can take a step to protect her community. But, you know, they say we don't have resources for our communities, for our programs, but we do have resources for the police. And so us, again, as people who live in the belly of the beast, we have to fight back. And I think that this is really a first step and a step to, you know, of nonviolence, if you will, to come out to the judiciary hearing on the 4th. Come and give your testimony. You don't need to be an expert. You don't need to be a lawyer. You don't need to be a policy expert to come out and testify. We are experts because we are living through this day in and day out in our communities. Yes or no? Yes. And so here I leave y'all. Please come out. This was one of our city hall takeovers. Well, we accidentally did it because it was raining that day, and we actually meant to have the press conference outside, but we didn't want to get people sick, so we were just forced to take over City Hall. And this is a great example of the fact that how our comrades have been saying throughout this teach-in. One thing I want to make sure that we leave out of here with is that DC has been, and will forever be a Black city. That DC is one of the cities with the largest Black diasporas, and that immigration is a Black issue. And we cannot win this, we cannot protect immigrants without protecting Black people, without Black liberation. And so that's why we're here today, building bridges between all of our communities as people of color, because we need to fight together, and we need to win.
Hell yeah.
And so at this action, it was a perfect example. We had faith leaders in the front, because we know our communities love Jesus sometimes. And so our faith leaders led us. This is, again, we want to make sure that we are protecting families and not these federal agencies, that we are not protecting the cops that are coming to separate our families, to brutalize our comrades and our neighbors. And honestly, it was a great turnout. Raise your hand if you were there. Oh, hello. All right. And raise your hand if you're going to be there on December 4th. Yeah. Oh, hello?
Come on.
Come on now.
Let's get all them hands up.
Yeah, at City Hall. Everybody call out for work. At DC Council. Yeah, and we will.
We got Christina in the back who can get you registered for more information.
Yeah. And we will help you prep if you're nervous about prepping and if you're nervous about speaking. I'm not a good public speaker, so I feel you. But
and also, Amy, if you could raise your hand as well, can get you registered.
Are we bullying me?
Yeah. All right. Questions? Any questions? Go ahead and raise your hand. Take your time. No pressure. We got one right here from Bakari.
What are some of the enforcement mechanisms that the DC Council has for, enforcing the Sanctuary Values Act? Like, what kinds of data are we demanding that they, get from MPD about their collaboration?
Well, we want to know any police stops in which federal agents were involved. We want retroactive information on that. We also know that City, Pinto, for example, as Cookie said, has power, over MPD. Not only can she, introduce policies that they have to follow, she can actually put enough pressure on Pam Smith through City Council to force Pam Smith to repeal the Executive Order 2505. That's actually a really important one. Executive Order 2505 is the one that mandates local cooperation with the feds. That's Pam Smith's executive order. That's not even the mayor's. The mayor's has a general executive order saying just in general we're going to collaborate. Pam Smith has the one that we're talking about, 2505, and City Council can introduce, legislation to essentially pressure her, to rescind that executive order without the mayor having to do so. Anything else you want to add?
Just really quickly, that we are asking for all these data because they, by law, under the Sanctuary Values Act, they need to disclose this data once a year. We've been asking for that data for months, and we can't, honestly, I cannot trust what they say to us in a press conference. We need to know how many of these arrests have happened between where MPD has taken a role, what type of communication is happening between federal agents and local police. What does this transfer look like when somebody is detained by MPD on the street? Like, how did the federal agents know this detention was happening, that this stop took place? All this information we don't know because they are not transparent with it. And we've been calling for a public hearing where this can be disclosed, where MPD can come to testify, where the community can go also to testify. This hearing on December 4th, they have other items in the agenda. This is not the only thing that they're going to discuss. We've been asking for a specific hearing about the MPD collaboration with federal agents. They said, y'all can have this hearing if you want. We have other agenda items. And so we're taking over December 4th to, again, that we need to bring transparency to what's happening.
Yeah. And if you come, or if you still have any questions about if they are collaborating, MPD and the feds, raise your hand if you were at the round table for possible human rights violations. Yeah. Some of us, yeah. And one of the things that they said during that hearing is that the MPD and the feds, they're actually sharing radio frequency channels. Sorry, y'all. Again, just learned English. And one of this is very important because, unfortunately, a lot of our community does face violence. A lot of our community, especially I can say as an immigrant woman, I know that a lot of people in my community face a lot of domestic violence. And sometimes that means that they don't have another resource but to call the police. And when the police comes, the feds come. And all of a sudden you have to be stuck between choosing your safety and the possibility of you losing your family. And that's the type of real consequences that this collaboration is bringing. It's bringing more fear into our communities. It's bringing more violence into our communities. It's bringing more uncertainty into our communities. So it is everyone's responsibility here who showed up and here who lives in Washington, D.C. to come out on December 4th. So if you can't make it, I ask that you tell your grandma, tell your mama, tell somebody, tell your enemy, tell your casi algo to come out, please, and testify for our community and show up.
Any other questions?
What time is the meeting at the DC City Council on the 4th?
The hearing starts at 9:30. They never start on time. So between 9:30 and 10:30, and then first the government witness goes. So that's MPD. So MPD is going to go first, which we've asked Pinto to herself. We've said, then you're going to have to ask those questions when they come to the table on the 4th. We're waiting to see if she's going to ask the questions. That usually takes a little long. Like that interaction takes like an hour or two. And then the testimony for public comment begins.
Oh, that's what stupid Brooke Pinto is going to do that?
Yeah, so right. That's how it usually is, like the layout of the public hearings that they have. But like Marawi mentioned, there are 4 items on the agenda, and this is under public safety. It is not specific to MPD Fed collaboration, and so it feels like very much like breadcrumbs. Like here, okay, fine, Eve, you can turn them out here. Yeah. So it's gonna be a long day if y'all plan to be there.
All right. All I gotta say is, last thing I gotta say is fuck Brooke Pinto.
There you go.
Yeah. In fact, we gotta. Well, it's not Pinto, but fight like Brandon, fight like Zoran.
Fight like Brandon, fight like Zoran.
Not like Bowser, she's a moron.
Not like Bowser, she's a moron.
All right, we got a hand up over here.
I was just wondering, like, is the topic of like the surveillance and like the new cameras and stuff is that on the agenda too?
I don't believe.
I'm gonna double check right now.
Yeah, we can double check. It's basically a public safety hearing, like broadly, and it is a classic obstruction technique by politicians. You know what I'm saying? To keep hearings broad. Hearings have the power to kick off specific investigations of specific things. And we want to force that specific thing to happen. We're not exactly sure what else is being covered. I mean, obviously, you can go in there and talk about that thing. You know what I mean? That's one thing about it, to put it on record. And but I guess they'll let us know. I think we got maybe another. Yeah, they got them all over the city. You talking about the flak joints? What are they called? Yeah. Anybody? One thing I'll say, while we hold space for one more hand, is that Bowser will tell us that her North Star is home rule. Y'all heard that
Lies.
before? That's her whole thing. Essentially, she's saying, I am conceding to all of their demands because I'm trying to protect home rule, DC home rule. And we have essentially gone over many different ways, all the, not all of them, but many different ways that this has turned out to be false. Actually, the opposite is happening. She's actually helping them to erode home rule. Every concession that she makes gives them space to take more. Everything that they do, successfully. Now look at Congress essentially trying to codify it, with the bill. You know what I mean? They just dropped, even more bills to protect officers. They're trying to roll back police chases. We actually, at our conference in Chicago last week, we met a woman, because we bring together families, who have people who have been, killed by police or brutalized by police. And one of these women was there in, to raise up the name of her son who had been killed in a police chase in Michigan. They hit him with their car. Basically, in this police chase, he was killed and his body was cut in half. You know what I mean? And police chases have been outlawed in D.C., for that reason. They're incredibly dangerous, and incredibly expensive and, have no reason. They don't result in a safer city. And now, of course, Congress is fully intent on rolling it back. And like I said before, the police want it. They love giving chase, like dogs, you know what I mean? And they now use federal officers like, to give chase for them. And that's what's resulted in the near killing of Philip Brown and the other brother on Benton Road.
Say his name, Samuel Sterling.
Samuel Sterling.
Thank you, Marawi. Just to answer to the person that asked, they actually added a couple of items. I don't see anything that's like related to that. Is like child fatality review committee, first responder retention efforts, vehicular terrorism prevention amendment act, evidence-based gun violence reduction, and they added the juvenile curfew amendment act. So some of the things that we were talking about today that are equally egregious as what we.
But that doesn't mean that you can't raise it that day, because that is also part of policing, right? Like how are they finding us? The other thing, just to close off, the other thing that comes with this collaboration, and it's really being betrayed by these people that, even though it's fake, right? That they say they're here to protect, the MPD is here to protect our communities, but in reality, these are federal agents that are coming from outside of DC, and they're coming here and they're giving them a cultural map of our communities. There's a reason why they're in Ward 1. There's a reason why they're in Brightwood. There's a reason that they're in Southeast, and the people that are leading them into our communities is MPD, is the mayor, is Pinto, is Pam Smith, right? And they're doing that, and they're using that surveillance technology against our community. So this is a great opportunity for you to be there. I hope to see you there, and I hope to hear more about the surveillance.
Right on. We have a duty to fight for our freedom.
We have a duty to fight for our freedom.
We have a duty to win.
We have a duty to win.
We must love and support one another.
We must love and support one another.
We have nothing to lose but our chains.
We have nothing to lose but our chains.
We have a duty to fight for our freedom.
We have a duty to fight for our freedom.
We have a duty to win.
We have a duty to win.
We must love and support one another.
We must love and support one another.
We have nothing to lose but our chains.
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 All right, shout out to everybody that came out here. Thank you all for making this a huge success. Please get registered if you're not. Holla at anybody here if you want more information. Follow us on IG, all that. Thank you, folks. Oh, and special shout out to Sankofa. I gotta say that. We love y'all.
Go buy something.
Yeah, grab a book. There's plenty of books here. Copaganda's here. There's a group of books right here behind the seats that are particularly, Sankofa curated a list of books that have a lot to do with what we spoke about today, and they're on that middle table.
Buy a shirt, buy a shirt.
Buy a shirt, buy a shirt.